Hello guys, this is Jessica from Shuffling Fate, and today I'm here to bring you a video about the 22 favorites. And this was a tarot tag that was created by Tiferet Tarot, and I'm going to link his video in the description box below so you can check it out. This is a little bit of an older YouTube tag. I've been meaning to do this forever, actually. And I sat down. It took me forever to go through all my decks, so I can't imagine anybody with a huge collection. I have about 35 decks. And it took me a while to go through these, and I had to lay them all out, but it was really fun. It gave me the opportunity to go through my cards and really connect with the archetypes of the major arcana and find out what it is that I love about those different archetypes and which decks really represented that for me. So this is going to be exciting. This is probably going to be a longer video because I'm kind of a talker, and I'm doing this on the shadow of Mercury retrograde. So being a Virgo, this is going to be an interesting video. There will probably be a lot of ums and mistakes in my words, so if I stumble a little bit, try not to judge too hard. Okay, starting off, we are going to jump in with the Fool, and this particular Fool is from the Tarot of the Hidden Realms, and if my camera would focus, that would be fantastic. And this is a gorgeous, gorgeous Fool. I love this entire deck. It's one of my top 5. That'll be in another video. But this Fool, particularly for me, is just about innocence. And I think the Fool has that. The Fool doesn't have all of these life experiences weighing him down. He is looking at this butterfly. He's looking at the world through these new eyes, where he's not had a lot of bad things happen to him. Sort of like a kid would, see everything for the first time, and they would be such an awe about everything, and they would be really excited to discover new things, and they would look at everything for the first time. My husband and I was just having a discussion because we play D&D, and I remember ages ago when I first started how everything was so new, and I didn't know all the rules and the statistics and stuff about any of that. So whenever I would, now that you play the game and you know all of that kind of stuff, it kind of takes away a little bit of the magic. And this card is all about that, about the magic, about looking at something for the first time and seeing it beautifully. And he's going into the world. He's fearless. He has that kid's sort of, I can take on the world sort of attitude. So I really adore this card for that reason. Moving on to the Magician. This is from the Raven Prophecy Tarot, and this is trimmed down, and I wrote in gold Sharpie here the titles. Just recently did that. This is such an intuitive, beautiful deck that I don't even think it really needs the titles, and I've edged it orange too. It's quite gorgeous. I love it. But for me, the Magician is about empowering yourself. It's about having the tools within yourself, not physical tools necessarily, although those are helpful, but having the power and having the knowledge and everything inside of yourself. You are the tool. And in magic and in tarot, we learn that these things that we use and we love to have around us, our crystals and our decks and all of that stuff, our candles, all of that stuff is very small in the scheme of things. What is really important is finding your own power and wielding your own power from yourself. And so because this is such a personal, zoomed in version of this card, I just adore that representation of the Magician. And moving on to the High Priestess, for the same exact reason. The High Priestess is my favorite card in all of the tarot, and whenever I see this card, I have a very particular bond with this card, because to me, the High Priestess is a teacher. She reminds me of my teacher, and she reminds me that we are all here. We are vessels of spirit. So this reflection, this mirror, is the most perfect, iconic symbol for her, because to me, it represents you always looking inward, you always facing your demons, and you always seeking to improve yourself. And she is the connection to spirit to me. She is the one who is always there guiding you, telling you, sort of like your spirit guide, telling you, to seek out the answers and to always question things and to search. And she's been a wonderful guide in my life, and I am very appreciative of that. Listen to me getting all emotional. Woo! Okay, anyways. This is going to be the Empress, and of course, gotta use the Druid Tarot. I actually can't have kids, and I still adore the mother goddess figure. I am a goddess worshiper, so I love this imagery. I love that her belly's full of life, even though that's something I can't necessarily identify with. I've always been fond of this imagery. She's holding the harvest. She's, out in the sunshine, and she's got her feet on the earth, and she's barefoot, and, there's a lot of different types of the Empress. Empress to me also represents a leader, but I think mothers are powerful leaders. I don't think because you choose to be a mother, because you choose to raise your children, that you can't go out and conquer the world. I believe that mothers are some of the strongest people that we have on the earth. And I think also that even though her belly is full, representing pregnancy too, she's holding the harvest. I think that the Empress is about abundance and about accepting the things that you deserve in your life, and it's about your self-worth and being a creator of things. So that kind of energy is just beautifully represented there for me. The Emperor's was a little bit difficult. Of course you have your kingly figure, but I actually really like the Emperor from the Wild Unknown. It is this tall, ancient oak tree that is just up into the sky, and he has weathered everything, and he's been there. He's a strong foundation, and to me, it's something that's supportive and stable. And the Emperor card is actually my birth card, and I've always had trouble with stability, and I think that's what I'm trying to learn here in this life. But the Emperor, there's nothing more stable to me than an ancient tree like that. Something that has rooted itself into the ground, who has stood the test of time, who is there to provide shade and the life-breathing oxygen. And I love this sort of strength within the card. Of course, the Emperor to me also represents good rulership. Something or someone that is willing to take control and lead and to be there and right. Sorry. But that card is really representative of the strength and sort of the stability of the Emperor that I really am fond of. The next card is going to be our Heirophant. And this card is beautiful. This is also from the Tarot of the Hidden Realms. I love that he's sort of like a Merlin figure here. And there's no people. I hate the popish figures of the Heirophant. Those cards. I know that's traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, but I really am fond of something like this. Somebody who's a teacher, somebody who takes their wisdom of their ages and that they have learned and that they have studied all these years, and sort of just like the High Priestess, just to me, how she's a teacher, he is too. But he's more about, they're similar, but they're also different. Where I think that he is more of passing on your wisdom. This is where she's a direct connection to my goddess. This is more of someone that comes along to a sagely character. This is definitely a masculine energy to me, whereas the High Priestess is very feminine. And, of course, here we are still with the Tarot of the Hidden Realms, and this is a beautiful lover's card. This is their embrace, their closeness, the intimacy of the two of them just being here in this moment, looking into each other's eyes. Those look like soul-crossed lovers. They look star-crossed lovers. They look like they're soulmates. They look beautiful. And I don't think that the lovers is necessarily always representative of a couple, but I do believe that there is that loving something so intensely that it becomes part of you. And that is just right here. This card makes me think of that. And it has no competition. This is the card I think of when I think of the lovers. All right, moving on to the Chariot. The Chariot is here. This is the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot. And this is a recent deck to my collection. I searched through a lot of my decks, and of course, there was a lot of traditional imagery with the Chariot, but to me, the Chariot really has to have this black and white. And the Rams are so hard-headed. They're so forward-going. They're so get what they want. And that energy is really, I really love that energy here in this card. And he's You got the old-fashioned Chariot, where he's guiding them and he's really, you know, going forward. There's so much movement, so much forward push in this card, and so much determination. I just really love that, and I think the Chariot is about that for me. It's about just really going after what you want, having focus, you know, but also being pulled sometimes in these different directions, or having, you know, I don't know if it's just me or what, but I'm very indecisive. I often want two things at once, so I often feel that pull and that, you know, which way do I go, and, you know, sort of winding in two different sides of myself. Should I do it? Should I not? And then just sort of pushing through that energy and moving forward. So there's definitely a lot of movement in this card, and it always strikes me as odd when there are cards for the Chariot in decks that have no movement feeling to them. They feel lethargic or disconnected from that. And then we have Strength, which is another favorite of mine. I love this card. I love this card so much. This is from the Circo Tarot. And I'm going to link all these decks down below too, just so you can check them out if you happen to see a deck that you really like. And this Strength card for me is just beautiful. She is the lion. She has, you know, conquered that part of herself, and she's wearing it like a badge. She's wearing it proudly. And being someone with issues, we'll just say that, having to face down your demons and having to do that, to be able to conquer that and to wear that proudly. You know, she looks like a warrior. She looks like she is kind, but in this version of the Strength, she's also fierce. When you see her, you're like, that girl, she's conquered her demons. She's done it. So to me, having this inner strength, it's you know, it's not about taming something else, it's about taming yourself. And that's something else I've noticed about the cards that I've chosen and the different archetypes and stuff that I have picked out in these decks, is that every tarot to me is very personal. It's not about someone else, it's about yourself. So a lot of these cards that I have chosen and I have picked are because they're personal. They touch to me on very personal things. Then we have the Hermit, and this beautiful card is from the Prisma Visions Tarot, and I love this Hermit. I love that there's this moon softly glowing, you know, in the dark, and he's out there on the bridge, and he's far away and far away from society. You know, I often take walks by myself at night, and that feeling of you don't do that stuff in the day. You don't have those kind of reflective moments. You know, at least maybe I don't. I'm definitely a night owl, so I definitely have that sort of the darkness, being pulled in, you know, having that reflective time, that thought, and being away from others. And I love this energy in this card. To me, it's perfect. He's still got his staff, he's still walking out, but he's far away removed from everything. And the Hermit, he just looks, I guess some of the Hermit energy has this, but this is such a beautiful representation of that. I really do adore that. And then next is the Wheel of Fortune, and some cards that I've had a lot of decks that I've traded on and off. Some of the cards that I would pick for these archetypes, I don't have those decks anymore because I didn't resonate with them for one reason or another. So the Wheel of Fortune was actually kind of hard for me. The Wheel of Fortune definitely means a lot of things to me. For one, it means the wheel of time, and it means it also is very representative of the Rider-Waite-Smith archetype here featured in the Morgan Greer Tarot. And there's that up and down, that cycle that we go through, and that, you know, fate has something to do with that, and sometimes there's a little bit of luck or chance with that. And it also represents time to me, you know, cycles and going through seasons of the actual year too. So this card was a little hard to choose, but I'm just really fond of this representation, especially this one, because, you know, you have your ups and downs where life is going perfectly and everything seems to happen and it's effortless and it's wonderful. And I definitely go through these cycles too. And then you have these where everything kind of goes to shit and then you try to figure out what the hell happened, and it's the Wheel of Fortune, you know, can't be on top all the time, I suppose. Next is Justice, and this card for me isn't always one of my favorite in a deck, but I adore this version, and this version is from as soon as it focuses. This version is from the Dark Goddess Tarot. And this is Mott. And she is, you know, known for weighing the truth against your heart. And I love this. She's not blindfolded. She's not, you know, a victim of the legal system and the unfairness that is the capitalist society that we live in. I'm not going to get political, but I've never been a fan of that. I love this. She is judging you by your actions. She's looking right at you. She knows what you did. Sometimes it's obvious when people do the wrong thing, and I think that we have to hold people more responsible for that as a society, because the legal system often will not do that. You know, back in the day, we used to give people our word, and that meant something. That was actually not a physical thing, but it was a contract. You gave somebody your word. You gave them a contract. And if you mess that up, people, like, that's a bad person. You don't trust them. They used to mean something. That used to have weight. And I love that she is holding you accountable for what it is that you're doing, instead of it being sort of the justice system. All right, now we're moving on to the Hanged Man. And this one is the Tarot of Transformation. And isn't that beautiful? I love that this tree holds the story of Odin when he hung himself and he sacrificed himself, and it's to gain more information. He was seeking out the unknown, and I think that this is definitely a card about spiritual journey. I know that long ago it used to represent a traitor or something like that, but I think that as tarot has evolved for us, it's come to mean different things for us, and definitely it still maybe has that meaning for other people. But for me, it's about letting go, about surrendering to the forces, surrendering to the flow of life, not being in control of everything. I'm such a control freak sometimes that I have to remember to let go and to experience things without trying to manipulate everything, if that makes sense. Manipulate such a dirty word, it seems like, but I mean, honestly, that's what we try to do. We try to always have things be in our best favor, and I don't know a better way to say that. Again, Mercury is getting ready to do its thing, so words and stuff, but anyways, I just love this card. This card's also about sacrifice. Sometimes we have to sacrifice. We choose to sacrifice ourselves for something else. Sometimes it's spiritual, sometimes it's physical, sometimes we physically lose things, or we have to let go of things so better things could come, so we can transform, so we continue to go on. There's that stillness in the moment, that hesitation, and then there's the movement, finally breaking through. This is the Death card, and this is we're revisiting the Druidcraft Tarot, which is one of my favorite decks. And this is the most beautiful crone energy that I've ever seen in a deck, and this reminds me of Caerdwyn, the goddess, and in her big cauldron that she has, where all things come to her in the end, and they get put in the pot, and they get made anew. And it's sort of the cycle of life here and the regeneration. I love that she has the snake. The snake is about transformations, shedding that skin and becoming something new. She is the keeper of these things, and I love this so much. It's so beautiful. This card is about death, about endings, but also with the cauldron and with the snake, you get that feeling like it's not the end. It feels like the end of the world, but it's about you creating something new for yourself. It's about you creating a new identity or self. And then also from the Druidcraft Tarot, which this one is also trimmed down. I'll have to do a video on my decks that I've trimmed and modded, and this deck came alive for me. This deck was already one of my favorites. It was the second deck I ever bought, and this deck came alive for me when I trimmed it. So if you're not into that yet, you should probably look into trimming your decks, because it'll change them. Alright, and I have the Temperance card here. This one was also a bit of a tough one for me to find a good representation of. Of course, you always have the angel, and she's, doing the two different forces, but I believe this card is sort of about being an alchemist, about creating a balance for yourself. And I love how she's experimenting. She's got the cauldron, you know, we just came from the cauldron here where you ended, and now you're beginning something new. You're transforming, you're asking yourself, what is it that I want? And you're, you know, not being afraid to do that. You're moving into those forces. You're creating that impossible. You're melding the spirit and the physical and creating that better world for yourself. So I do love that card from the Druidcraft Tarot. I'm going to get a drink real quick. All right. And this is like a 3 o'clock in the morning video because that's how I roll. The next card is going to be from the Tarot of the Sidhe, and I'm probably butchering that, so please forgive me if I am saying that incorrectly. But look at this effing card. It's gorgeous. I love Sartor energy, and Sartor energy for me is very representation of, to me, they are pleasure seekers. They are in the moment. They are in that base chakra where, to be honest, you know, they're lustful and they're, you know, about war and they're about, you know, sort of just, you know, living in the moment. Completely living in the moment, moment to moment. I don't want to say barbaric, but kind of barbaric. You know, like, and I'm not saying all Sartors out there are like that, but this kind of energy, like being lost in yourself. Look at her. She's just got her head thrown back and she's just in the moment. And this card is about passions. It's about kind of losing yourself in what you love to do sometimes, and, you know, sometimes wanting to escape from things and being caught in that spiral and being unable to stop and being obsessed with it and being almost in love with it. Sometimes we can fall in love with those things. So I love that the sexual energy here is here, and I love that addictive, he's holding out that wine glass more, just more. That kind of feeling is here. So I think that's a beautiful card. And, you know, who doesn't love Pan? Because he is a handsome Sartor. So the next card is the Tower. And this card is most perfectly represented to me, in my opinion. Anyways, look at his, get to zoom out a little bit, sorry. By the Tower card and the Lumina. And this card is just beautiful. I love, of course, you have the traditional tower where you have the big old tower and then you have the people flying out of it, but that to me is sort of not representative of that. This right here, this bird built this nest. She built this home, and look how unstable it is. Look how, you know, it's gotten to the point where it's completely, what's the word? It's inefficient. It's unsteady. You know, sometimes our ego helps us. Our ego helps us boost, you know, it keeps going and we keep going with things. And sometimes we don't know when to stop. And then that moment comes along when what you built is not stable. It's not good. What you've done for yourself, especially coming out of the devil energy or the Pan energy, you get this, you know, enough is enough. And you have to stop. And sometimes we have to have that strike, that sudden, everything is changing energy, because Spirit's like, look, something's got to happen. So I love that the bird's flying away. She's scared, but she's not hurt. You know, we come out of these things unscathed, you know, most of the time, sometimes. But we're able to rebuild. We have that moment where we realize that what we've been doing has just not been good. Oh, all right. Now we're moving into the Star, and this is Terra Mucha, and I just adore this card. I love Art Nouveau, and, which I'm probably saying that wrong too. It's French. And even though French is a beautiful language, I unfortunately don't know how to say it correctly. But I love the Star card, and it's because she's so close to the star. She's holding on. It looks like she's fondling her dreams. You know, again, there's that nighttime where we dream at night. We have those hopes and those dreams. Those are things that we keep inside. We don't show those out to the world all the time. Sometimes we protect those things and we keep them hidden from others, but she's so lovingly touching that she hopes for, that she wishes for, and I love that. This card represents that for me. The Star is always about hope. Having hope when there's seemingly None. Having a dream and telling you to go after that dream, even at the expense of thinking you're crazy, or it's about having that secret wish inside of yourself and loving it, and hoping that one day that it will grow into be something beautiful. And now we have the moon. And this moon comes from a very new deck of mine, which I lovingly watched Tony create this. It's a gorgeous deck. It's called the Darkness of Light Tarot. And this moon card is everything. It has the two wolves, but it's two wolves, two heads on the same wolf. And this just reminds me of that dark, shadowy energy. It reminds me of that moment when, you know, almost sort of, you know, if you're bipolar, you would understand that, having those two things inside of you sort of fighting with yourself, and having that chaotic energy where you're going through, and the moon is sometimes, the moon looks unfriendly here. That's the only thing I don't like about this card, but sometimes we can guide ourselves down the wrong path. It's chaotic. It's not meant to be the beautiful moon on the sea that's guiding us through. The moon to me is very, I'm very close to the moon. I love the moon. And even though I do like the scary version of the moon, I am also fond of the moon from the Fountain Tarot too. This is more of the happy, it's the emotion though, the water, everything being so emotional and tumultuous. And I think these two decks work really well together too. I love their energy together, the very black and white yin and yang. And I have this where you're facing those shadows, you're facing that darker part of yourself where you're lost in yourself. This to me is more mental, where Pan is more physical. And you have all those emotions, and being a very emotional person, I just can really relate to these two. So, and then we have another card from the Tarot of the Sidhe. Or Sidhe, I don't know how to say that, I'm sorry. And this is the Sun. And this card, I love the Sun. There are prettier Sun cards that we're just looking at the Sun. I know that the Tarot de Saint Croix, Gray? It's Criox. Again, don't know how to say that. But I know that has a beautiful Sun card, where you have just the Sun energy in that. But this to me, it celebrates why it is we love the Sun. You know, we used to worship the Sun way back in the day, and we used to have these festivals, and everything revolved around the wheel of the year, and we were so in touch with the earth, and she's just holding out her hand. She's like, come play with me, you know, and there is that playful energy. It's not some kid on a horse, which is very, you know, Rider-Waite Smith. I do like the kiddish energy here too, where you have that moment where it's the Sun is about celebrating something. It's about being happy and being successful, and just having that energy, that fun that I really love. And now we're moving on to Judgement, or in this case, actually, yes, Judgement. This case, it's the Awakening. And this is from the Star Child Tarot. And a lot of the time, I was looking through the deck, the Star Child had some beautiful imagery. But this is the one that I really adored the most. And I love this. I love this card because to me, Judgment is about calling. And this is so spiritually. She's listening to herself. She's opening her heart chakra. She's extending. She's raising her vibration. She's ascending, essentially. Sort of like how the angel is calling and raising people up. Instead of from the dead, it's this sort of transforming beyond yourself. Raising yourself to another level. I don't think that the Judgment and then some of the Christian energy with that Judgment card sets well with me. So this is really a beautiful version. There's also, if anybody has the deck by Anna Kay, she has a gorgeous Judgment card where it's these people and they're coming out of a cave and they're seeing the light after so long. And honestly, if I had that deck, that would be my favorite Judgment card. Even more so over that one, because I feel like sometimes when we've went through the moon, especially coming out of the moon, you know, you've seen that light after so long where I've had these periods in my life where I've dealt with some extreme anxiety and depression, and being able to come out of that and just be able to live again, that's the judgment for me. Or awakening to a new spiritual level and becoming something that's greater than myself, you know, being able to move past an issue or something like that. All right, and then we have the World Tarot, and this one is from the Wild Unknown, and everybody has this deck. It seems like, because it's such a beautiful interpretation of tarot. And I love that this reminds me of the Oberus, the snake that eats its tail. This to me is the universal energy. It's everything encompassing as one. It's everything being interconnected, and everything, and you know, it's the earth and the universe and that whole circular all is one kind of energy, and that in the end everything is interconnected, and that it has meaning, and that it is significant. And I have to believe that, because if I think for a moment that all of this is random and chaotic and it doesn't mean anything, that I get really sad. So I love this card. I love it. It's simple. It's very simple, but it's also very beautiful in its simplicity. And a shout out to another card. If you're talking about just the earthly energy from this is the Greenwitch Tarot, and I love the World Tree from this. It's the watercolors from this. Chelsea did such a beautiful job, and this is she released the images online, so I was able to make my own copy of this, have it printed out. And I love the colors from this. This is more of an earthly world, where this is more of a universal, zoomed out world. So I like both of those, but if I'm going really to the heart of it, the world for me is about all the forces that exist, and for me that goes beyond just our earthly desires. And then we're back to the Fool. And isn't this like the most awesome card ever? Seriously, I love this fucking card, because I think in the end, you know, this is the Fool's journey. And he started out, where's he at? He started out as this young man, and he was looking at the world anew, and he was searching everything, and he had no experience, and he was just getting out there and having fun, and he went through all of this whole journey, and then he's still looking at the world beautifully. So I just want to thank everybody for this tarot tag. I think my camera is getting ready to not want to do its thing, so I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you all for watching, and I really appreciate the views, and just let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let me know if any of these were your favorites, and definitely check out this tarot tag. It's super fun to do, so I'm looking forward to hearing your all's comments. You guys have a great day.